And I am live. Welcome to this new stream. Before we get into today's topic, which is Superman and Lois season 4, I got to tell you, I did tear up watching the final episode. I must also tell this. I have been following the CW um, superhero TV shows for the last 20 years with Smallville, Arrow, and every other spin off. And I was watching weekly Superman and Lois when it first came out in 2021. I've seen weekly all season except for season 4. So I've seen 3 out of the 4 seasons weekly. Now, the only reason why I didn't watch season 4 weekly it's because I was just too occupied. Life happens, and I will be honest, I didn't really want the show to end because I knew that would be the final season and probably the last time I watched the CW. So, here we are with that massive intro. I will say this. I think overall this is a great TV show. I cannot wait to rewatch. I will be making a retrospective on that TV show because now the TV show is over and I had a very good experience. Now, be advised, we will have some spoilers here. So if you have not seen um, the entire season, I recommend clicking off this video. Um, what I will be doing is I will talk about each single episode and I will rank them and I will give my overall thoughts now that the show is over. And again, click off this video if you have not seen the entire season because you will be spoiled. And there's a lot of things to spoil. And yeah, I guess that's it for the intro. Let's get right into it. So the first episode picks up where we left off at the end of the season 3 with Superman facing off Doomsday. And I will admit, I was very worried that we would get a storyline being repeated. And it happened. So let me expand on that. Season 2, we had the Bizarro World. And at some point, I forgot why because I really didn't like. Well, I liked the season, but that was the weakest season. And that was a downtime, or I don't know how to call it. That was a down. That wasn't the best season to show. That was actually the worst season. But at some point, Superman leaves Earth and he goes to Bizarro World to see what's going on there, what's up with that. And he's believed to be dead because there's almost an entire episode where it focuses on the boys and Lois and how they cope with the fact that maybe Superman is not coming back. It wasn't dead, but it felt like it because for an entire episode we didn't know what was going on with him. Now, coming into season 4, Superman fights Doomsday and he dies again. That's great. You already run out of ideas and you repeat story beats we had in the past. Now, I get it. Again, spoiler. There's that entire idea with that season. The first time Superman died, his life was void. Is he had darkness? He had anger, because that's true. He had anger toward Lex, and he wasn't really happy and hopeful and all. And the second time he dies at the end, he died with love. He was surrounded by people he loved. He had a very happy life in general, and he had forgiven Lex. So as much as it's a interesting approach that you would delete Superman twice, um, it already happened in the show with season two. So getting back that story beat here again was an issue for me. Um, so that's told already. Now, to get back with the first episode review, Lois flashback were really cool, and I had no issues outside of what I already mentioned. And we got yeah, it was. I just realized someone was in the chat. I agree with you. It was cool. Um, so yeah, the first episode, Doomsday versus Superman, that was a great fight, and they really fleshed that one out very wonderfully. Uh, Lois not being scared of Lex made sense, and that really changes throughout the season, and that's interesting. More cool flashback, fleshing out Superman and Lois' early days in their relationship. I feel like each time we get that kind of flashbacks in the show, we had that in season one, we had that in season three. That was always great, and here it felt great. Uh, yeah, what a great show, required watching for new dads. That's true. I cannot wait to rewatch the entire thing again. I will be doing a retrospective now that the show is over. That will take some time because I have other videos planned before, but don't you worry, eventually we will talk about the entire show again. Um so overall the first episode was really good. The reveal of the girl against Sam made sense. I've seen it coming last season when they introduced her. I was like, she is a bad girl. She's probably working for Lex. And turns out I was right. So they were very good at writing that kind of stuff, and the payoff were usually really good. So I will praise the show for being smart and clever in the writing. More cool flashbacks showing Clark and Lois waiting for their kids. Uh, Jordan saving the general felt earned. Sad ending with the family finding Clark's dead body, and it was very important because this is how the city of Smallville realized, oh, Clark is Superman, and that was another thing they wanted to set up for the rest of the season, which is the reveal to the world that Clark Kent is Superman. We will get into that once we reach um, the later episode where we address that. Um, picking up on Lex, uh, picking up on why Lex came at the farm made sense since Lois is smart. Jordan finally listening his mother shows some growth. One good thing about this show, characterization. They were very good with character growth, with the cast and all. And one last thing about this first episode, I think that was a very good first episode for the final season. Um, it got me warmed up for the rest of the season. That was a great start. So yeah, the first episode would be a 10 out of 10 for me. Outside of the overall issue with the overall season, this specific episode was solid, and I will sound like a broken record because most of the episodes this season were very, very good and well written. I think it's more like some of the ideas throughout the season that didn't land well with me, but that's later. So let's get into the second episode in the final season of that great TV show. Um, we had a very sad moment where Jordan realizes he wasn't ready to lose his dad, and he goes after the art, but the art get destroyed, and there were a lot of theories that it was a fake art. I really wanted that theory to be true, and I was like, we cannot really delete Superman in the last season. Like it would be bad. But they ended up doing that anyway. Um, but yeah, the second episode was still very good. I only had one issue, and again, I said it in the past. I feel like it's a rehash. Superman died in season two. He dies again here because we need that. Like we need to find a reason to save some money on VFX with Superman flying around. Um, we need to find a reason why it doesn't bring down Lex episode three. So that happened. Now, despite that, I was kind of surprised they were able to still tell a story with Superman, White House Superman in it, with the flashbacks. The Fortress trying to help out Clark made sense. Um, Lois and Lana talking about Lex felt like two sisters talking and worrying about the future because the bad guy is in town. That was really good. Um, episode 2 was solid. And what else? Lex and his assistant meeting was entertaining. So the assistant has a character arc of her own, and she helps out Lex doing his bad deeds. And she is that great sidekick until she realizes she was used, and Lex doesn't really love anybody but himself and revenge. That's a very interesting part about Lex. And I will also admit this, I read comics now because I plan on making a new podcast on this channel. And yeah, I think Lex was very much comic book accurate with this TV show because he's obsessed with Superman in the comics, and in the show, it's the same deal. All he wants is revenge. Jordan going after Lex made sense. Lana and Lois talking, like most of the Lana scenes this season were really solid. She didn't get that many scenes that season, but Lana was solid this season. I will admit that. Sarah was hilarious when defending why she's helping the boys. Legs being twisted enough to force Lois to choose between both sons made sense. Lana being destroyed by the reveal that Clark died was sad. And again, the the fact that Lex just toyed with everyone and the way he did that, that was well made. Um, that episode was slightly weaker than the first one. And again, it's because they are telling the same story they already told in season 2. So this episode for me is a 9.7 out of 10, which is still very high and well deserved for a very good show. And I guess now we enter episode 3 territory, a masterpiece. In the entire show, it's one of the best thing, and I'm looking forward to rewatch the entire show to really know where exactly that one scales. But let's talk about it. It had no issues for me. The first thing to say is Sam Lane growth into accepting Clark felt earned. Lois and Jordan argument over Lex being manipulative was a great scene. Lex trying to flip Jordan against his family made sense, and he's the weak one despite being the first one with powers. Jordan always had insecurities, and that's his character, so that made sense that Lex would try to flip him. Jonathan unleashing anger over losing his dad made sense. John Henry Aaron guilt over Superman death made sense. So again, even if I'm not a fan of that story beat being told again, I think it was well made and well executed and all. It's just that You run out of ideas. That's what happens. Um, what else? What else? What else? Um, there's a lot of things I enjoyed. Sam taking the serum for Clark was cool. The flashback showing how Clark revealed his identity to General Lane was great. Jonathan reacting to getting his powers was cool. Great meeting between Lois and General about Jonathan's getting power. General Lane and Clark's second flashbacks were great. Great scene between Lois and Jonathan talking about the powers was cool. Cool scene with General Lane learning about his past. Martha and Clark talking about Clark's future with Lois was endearing. And it's one of the few Martha scenes we really had in the show, and that was cool. Like I think we had like maybe two scenes, three scenes with Ma and Paquin, and that was one of these scenes, and that was really cool. Sam using the serum on himself made sense. The fight versus Doomsday was great. Lois and General Lane argument over the wedding was great. The flashbacks throughout the episode were very emotional. General death was very sad. Lois telling Jordan the general died was very sad. Made me tear up. General last word did make me cry even more than the death itself. Seeing the grave it even harder. So that aspect was wonderful, and this is why this was one of the best episodes. It made me feel stuff, and it was good. It was well made. It was sad. It was hard to watch, but for the right reasons. So yeah, episode 3 is a solid 10 out of 10 for me. And again, I think it's a top tier episode. I'm looking forward to rewatch this after watching the entire TV show. I feel like that would be one of these episodes you're like, oh, that's always great. First time was great, the next time will be great as well. So episode 4 is where we are at now. Let's pull up the notes. I had no issues whatsoever, and based on my notes, that was the second best episode right after episode 3. So that's telling a lot. Jordan giving the suit to Jonathan shows that maybe Jordan needs a break from being an hero. Rewind, an hero. Jordan feeling like he's always letting others down was relatable. Cheryl was scared of Lex. It made sense. The music early in the episode was a great follow-up to the previous episode. Cal and Chrissy scene was endearing. Clark training Jonathan was great. Well shown how Clark did struggle with this new art. Clark explaining how he crashed was funny. The age gap judgment from the mother was hilarious. I like that moment, and it felt so real because there's a lot of age gap controversies in general, and people are so judgmental, and a lot of people are bitter. They're like, why don't you take someone your age? But she's an adult, man. She can vote. Perfect. Why not? Anyway, that's enough for the tangent. The brothers having a banter was great. Clark and Lois talking about adapting to the new Earth was sad. Wine affecting Superman was new. Jordan and Sarah talking in the barn was entertaining. Lois talking to Cheryl was entertaining. Sarah and Chrissy scene was funny. Chrissy and Lois talking about the wedding was entertaining. Jonathan bumping into an enemy was surprising and cool. Funny punchline from Superman. I think the dialogue and the humor in the entire show was always one of the strong parts of this show. And yeah, that episode was just the perfect follow up to episode 3. Well made, well done. All of that. 10 out of 10 again. I will sound like a broken record. I feel like each individual episode that season was solid. Um, Again, I got issues with the bigger picture than specific episode. That's a bit sad, but that's life. Um, I guess we get into episode 5. Episode 5 was solid again. I'm the broken record. Um I only had one issue with that one. So Lex sent Doomsday for revenge. Now he knows Soups is alive. Why doesn't he send Doomsday again? Inconsistency. Now later on they deal with that with episode 6, I believe, or episode 7, but in episode 5, Lex wants to see by himself if Superman is still alive. So it kind of bothered me that out of anger, why wouldn't he just send Doomsday again? You need plot armor. You need to let Clark make up a plan or something. Um, so yeah, that's why episode 5 picked up like that. That's my big issue with that episode. It felt kind of like, oh, let's save some money. We don't want Doomsday fight, and we don't want Clark to fight Doomsday 20 times. That's another reason. But maybe I nitpick too much. It made sense that Clark would be afraid to lose the boys. Clark and Lois trying to break the cycle by reaching out to the daughter was great. Clark losing hope made sense. The daughter figuring out Lex always blames other made sense, and it was a great parallel. Lex and Clark are complete opposites. Clark is a good father and husband. Lex was a bad father and husband. Clark's a hero while Lex was a monster. Clark was taking accountability. Lex wasn't. Clark life was all about lies. Lex as well, but it's lies others told about him. Lex not wanting to break the circle was also great opposite to Clark's desire to break the circle, the cycle, the circle. I don't know. Um, Clark trying his best to fix Lex's relationship with his daughter was entertaining, and the words did go true. The flashback showed well how Lex is truly a bad person since he also wanted to hurt his ex-wife, the mother of his child. Lois trying to go through Doomsday to reach out to Bizarro Superman made sense. Lex having anger issues was well shown. The daughter realizing her dad was a monster was tragic and sad. Doomsday turning sides was well thought out. I really enjoyed that part. But again, I feel like they pushed their luck. Um, Lex should have just sent Doomsday early instead of just waiting to see by himself and all of the drama part. The drama part was really good, but I don't know. Something is off for me. The flashback of Lex were great, fleshing out how Lex doesn't open up due to childhood trauma. Candice and Jonathan relationship being ruined by the secret made sense. Clark seeking for the Fortress help to learn about Doomsday was cool. Lex talking to his daughter was entertaining. The brother lying about stuff was hilarious. The father and daughter moment was great. The flashbacks were great. The kids wanting to reveal the secret to Candice was great. So that episode was really good, and because my nitpick is a nitpick, I I was a bit generous on that one. 9.9 out of 10. And the only reason why it's not in is because I still feel like they pushed their luck a lot. Lex he let Superman go. Like there was plot armor there because the moment he realized he's alive, why didn't he send Doomsday again? Later on, they kind of fixed that because he goes AFK. He tries to destroy the mines to go back in Bizarro World or some shit. Um, yeah, it just feels off. So 9.9 out of 10. It's not quite a 10. It's very close because we had great moments. I feel like we had great storytelling outside of just Lex not sending Doomsday again. I get why they didn't do it. You don't want to delete Superman again, and on top of that, well, you don't want Superman to fight Doomsday every week. So that's fine, but I I just don't like the idea. I don't. Um, Maybe if Lex learned about Superman return after Lois would have talked to Doomsday, I would be more okay with that. But Lois talking to Doomsday was at the very end of the episode, like in the last 10 minutes. So we had like an entire episode of Lex talking to his daughter instead of sending a monster after Clark. I don't know. Again, I get it. I understand the show, but I wasn't a fan. So I guess now we move on to episode 6. We are near the end of that season already. That season went by so fast. I've seen most of the episode like within the same week, and then I caught up to the show recently with episode 9. So I've seen like 8 episodes in a row, and then I waited weekly to watch the rest. And here we are with episode 6, another really good one, because this is what the show does. Great material, great content. So let's pull up the notes, and I don't see any issues with that episode. Um, let's read that out. Lex burning the picture of his daughter was a way to show how his only good part was fading away. He ripped it apart. He destroyed it. He embraces fully his monstrous side. Ints at the girl assisting, maybe rewind. Ints at the girl assistant, maybe turning as well against Lex was cool. Lois being right about Lex being obsessed with himself made sense. Lois telling how she is getting harassed by Lex. Coach trying to recruit the kids, and their reaction was showing the boys' growth. Smallville standing up to Lex was great. The assistant flipping on Lex made sense. Sarah's desire for new experience felt real and grounded. Great parallels between Clark and Lex. Lex turning into a liar, Clark turning into someone truthful was great. The boys feeling guilt over Lana getting threatened made sense. The assistant seemingly choosing Lex was cool. I thought at that point maybe she wouldn't be fully on Leg's side and she would be some kind of double agent. Turns out I was wrong, but it happens when you're watching. Think outside the box, and maybe sometime it will work, and others it doesn't, and it just didn't work for me. Um, so yeah, opening scene shows a hatred-driven person with Lex. Great music. Well shown how Jonathan helps out. Lex going after Lana was interesting. Jonathan eating a lot was hilarious. Clark realizing people know about his secret made sense. Lex harassing the neighborhood was cool. The brothers talking was great. Clark going gray was hilarious. Lana getting attacked did show how Lex keep going too far. Lana and Lois talk about the attack was entertaining. So overall, another episode that's a masterpiece, 10 out of 10. And now we are on to episode 7, Lucky 7. So episode 7 was another great one. I feel like a broken record to that point. This is what I am. I'm sorry, folks. I just enjoyed that season a lot. Episode 7. So let's bring up the notes. At the same time, I do timestamp this for any people watching the playback. They will see exactly what's going on. Um, let's read out if I got any issues with that week. No issues, so that's two strikes in a row, as they call it. Tracy selling the Gazette made sense. The boys showing their growth was great. The show also addresses very well how the secret would go out of control. Lois understanding Clark past and explaining it to the boys was an amazing throwback to the TV show called Smallville. And we also got like Jimmy. Clark and Jimmy friendship being destroyed by the secret was sad. The show proving the Suns were wrong about the superhero persona stopping friendship from happening was great since they said Clark didn't have friends or fun. While they said that, Clark had a fun dinner with two of his great friends. So the kids were wrong sometimes, right? Clark opening monologue was great. It's also filled up some plot. Oh, funny scene between Clark and Lois. Jimmy had the right vibe. He felt like a nerd, cool, eccentric guy. Great scene where Clark crossed someone else off that list. The restaurant scene was great. Emotional live interview. Jimmy and Clark bonding again felt great. Um, Again, I don't have a lot to say about episode 7. That was just another banger. A solid 10 out of 10. I feel like a broken record. Let's go into episode 8, and I will. Yeah, I was fast enough to cut the sound. Um so yeah, now let's just talk about episode 8. Episode 8, that was the last episode I did watch back to back, binge watch and all, because after that I did watch the show weekly. So here we are with this eighth episode. We are near the end of that discussion. That's very interesting. I I thought that'd be longer, but looks like no. Anyway, episode 8. Episode 8. Let's read out some notes. Let's find out. I had no issues with that one either. So my issues were really early in that season. Everything fell into place later in that season. Um so yeah, either Lex was getting a panic attack or he was getting his super earring, but actually the later was wrong. He was getting a panic attack. Um Yeah, that's what really happened. I thought he would get superpowers to fight Superman, but no. Um, Lex stressing out about following someone else's plan for once made sense. The reveal of Superman degenerating made sense. Natalie agreeing to do the work for herself instead of General Lane made sense. Opening scene with the family taking a day off was cool. The still at saving the day was great. Lex meeting with Godfrey, played by Tom Cavanagh, was cool. Candice breaking up with Jonathan made sense. The kid subplot was funny. The interview not going well was cool. Jonathan and Candice were entertaining. Natalie and Jordan talking about not quitting made sense. Brainiac taking over the suit was well shown. And again, episode 8, I don't have a lot more to say. Episode 8 is another banger. 10 out of 10. Well made and all. And I guess we are on to episode 9. The pin ultimate of the entire show. The lead up to the climax of said show. I I was like, oh, it's already ending. And here we are, episode 9. So, episode 9 was another great one, just like most of the show and that season for the matter. And I feel like as the season goes on, I got less and less thing to say. I guess I was less engaged because I wasn't the biggest fan of what was going on. Um, the season was cool, but the fact that Superman loses his power, it doesn't feel like Superman anymore, and it's sad. It's unfortunate. I'm not writing it, so maybe that's the thing, right? So yeah, episode 9 had no issues whatsoever, and let's get into the analysis and review for episode 9. Lex just proved Lois right by screaming at Amanda. Amanda, realizing she's being played, was great. Well shown, all the kids were defeated by the steel copy. The girl receiving half of LexCorp was cool. Lex threatening Clark made sense. Jordan enforcing what Clark told shows is growth. And that was great. Again, characterization in this show was always the strong suit. They're good at making characters believable and changing and growing and learning, and it's something a lot of the other CW show failed doing so. Shooting arrows at you, the Flash. You just never learned a single thing for like 9 years. But yeah, Superman and Lois, it has true characters and true stories. Opening sequence with the boys arguing with Clark was entertaining. Funny menu about the boys' preference. Bruno meeting Lois was entertaining. Bruno Mannheim explaining his experience with Luther was amazing. Lois and Amanda meeting was great. Clark thinking the boys together could make a great duo was cool. Clark versus Doomsday was fun. The boys saving people was cool. And this all leads up to a 10 out of 10. And the final episode with the show. That was a great journey that lasted like almost 4 years. It lasted 3 years, but that was about it 4 years. So yeah, it made me emotional because 4 years ago I wasn't in the same place as today. When I was watching Smallville, I was a kid. Now I'm an adult. I I got a career. It's not like the biggest career ever, but I got a career. I changed since the days I was watching Smallville. So coming into this final episode of the CW era of superheroes, I felt something. So I've seen episode 10 a few minutes ago, just before the stream. I woke up and the first thing I did eat something, and then I did start the episode and I watched it. And I liked watching this final episode. I got spoiled parts of it, um, but who cares? That was the end, and it's kind of my fault because the episode came out like Monday evening yesterday. I just didn't have time to get around watching. Uh, so yeah, I felt something, and watching this, I was happy, I was sad, I felt a lot of things, and yeah, my issue with this is mainly with the ending, and that's an issue with this episode because that's the final episode. But yeah, I will get around it. Okay, my issue with this final episode. Superman retiring made sense with the show premise, however, it wasn't a great send off. Superman shouldn't be dying from aging. And I know the show wanted to be grounded. And I know he has a 60 years old art, but it's Superman. And again, I get why they were doing that because it was emotional. I did tear up. Like the epilogue, the sequence where Lois dies, and then Clark is next, and then you see the kind of afterlife the show has. I felt thing it was emotional, and I think another reason why they did that it's because they wanted the show to feel complete and closed and done. They knew coming into season 4 that would be the last season, so at least they kind of closed off every single thread. This feels like right after Arrow, this feels like the most complete ending we had. It's one of the weakest. Um, I think Smallville ending was far better. I thought Arrow ending was far better as well. Supergirl, not really. DC's Legend of Tomorrow got canceled. Batwoman got canceled. The Flash, the showrunner, the writer will like we have like it up to season 10 or 11, but the star of the Flash was like, let's pull the plug with 9. So they knew it was the last one, but it didn't feel like the last one. Black Lightning, it's the same deal. They had a plan for more seasons. Stargirl as well. Now with Superman and Lois, they also had a plan for later seasons as well. But I do think they scrapped that and they did rewrites to make this new ending, this final season. They made rewrites probably. Uh because I don't think the showrunner or people involved were like, we will finish that show with 4 seasons. I think they just wanted to make it complete and hopefully my mic will be fixed. Yeah, so we had some mic issues here. That was terrible. Uh that's like the worst timing ever. Um but yeah, I think to get back on track, I think they had plans for a fifth and maybe a sixth season. Most of the CWs they had like 7 season deal or 6 season deal like Supergirl. So I think they wanted to do more. But then the CW did they were like, you got less episode, less budget. And James Gunn wants his own universe, so he didn't like even try to convince CW to keep doing it. Um yeah, this is what happened. So within this show, the ending made sense. It's probably coming like in fourth or fifth place in the Arrowverse. I think it's better than most of the canceled TV show. And ask me, would you watch the Flash final season or Superman and Lois? Hell, Superman and Lois. Even if I feel like the Flash has a better ending, The Flash final season was trash. I don't want to rewatch it. Like I will rewatch it for content's sake, but not for enjoyment. While Superman and Lois final season, I think I will rewatch it for enjoyment, despite my few issues that are nitpicks. That was great. So let's get back on track with episode 10. Um, Outside of my issue of Superman retiring and dying from aging, uh, we had great growth for Natalie to accept the new Earth as her own. Um, Lana and Joan dating was entertaining. The fight versus Doomsday was entertaining. The fight versus Lex Luthor was great. The wedding was entertaining. The kids talking about where they want to be was great. It made sense how Soups would want to really fix the world. The family time got me emotional. Lois' death was sad. And Bruno Mannheim cameo here was amazing. And now with that scene he shares with Superman, he's like the guy actually changed and he wants to help out the way I wanted to do things. That was great. And Lex realizing the gel is no longer his gel. That was great. This show was amazing. And the afterlife in that universe was kind of interesting. Clark death was sad. And again, in this final episode, I did tear up thinking, wow, this made me feel things. This TV show was great. I'm not the biggest fan of some of the things they did. But they did what they did right. I think the send off for that season was amazing. And now we segue into my grade for this episode, which is a 9.7 out of 10. And we segue into the conclusion of this final season of Superman and Lois. Um, so, okay. Again, I got two issues. They retold the same story they did in the past again, which is the death of Superman. And I get it. In the comics, I've heard a lot about that, and it involves Doomsday, so it kind of makes sense because Doomsday is part of that season as well. But the show already did that. Why bringing this up again? And I kind of explained early in the stream as well. They did that to close off. Superman died the first time sad and angry and it wasn't the wish death, while the second death he had was filled with love and he had a great life at that point. He had grandkids. That's the send off he gets. That's a cool send off for a human, and it's told times and times Superman is just a human with superpowers. But again, I think it's a bit sad that he retires like that. He's forced to retire because his art cannot carry him anymore. Superman being mortal bothered me, even if it made sense within the show, and even if they did plant the seeds well. He is Superman. It's sad there's no see you tomorrow or in the next adventure. So yeah, the episode ranking. In first place this season we got episode 3. In second place we got episode 4. In third place we got episode 6. In fourth place we got episode 7. In fifth place we got episode 8. In sixth place, we got episode 9. In seventh place, we got episode 1. In eighth place, we got episode 5. In ninth place, we got episode 10. And in the last place, we got episode 2. And it's interesting how we did talk about episode 6 or 7. I can't remember which one of the two. But one of the two ended with like Clark beating the crap out of Lex. That was satisfying. That was great. I don't know why I didn't mark it down, but the showdown they had under the red lights, that is cool. So overall, that season was amazing. Now let's address the likes I had with the entire season. The action was great. Every cameo of past season characters was well handled. The ending was very emotional outside of the fact that Superman dies. The ending itself and the sends off of the cast and characters was cool. Lex Luthor was a great villain. The brothers making a great team was cool and felt earned. Clark's desire to change the world was cool and accurate to what Clark would do. Clark life ending in love was okay. Um, this season overall deserves a 9.5 out of 10 in my books. That was solid. And based on what I remember, here all I would rank the season. In first place, season 3. In second place, season 1. In third place, season 4. In last place, season 2. Season 2 will always be the low point of this show in my books. And this is how it goes. That was a fun adventure. Superman and Lois was a show I highly recommend. I'm looking forward to rewatch. And I'm sad. No more CW. This was my review. And I am out. See you on the retrospective or for other movies and TV shows review. Take care.